So you just purchased Street Fighter 6, and after running around Metro City with your monstrosity created character, you're now checking out the training mode because you heard how it's the best training mode ever added to a fighting game. I agree, it's really great, and a big reason why it is so great is because of the many options and tools that Capcom has put into it. The amount of things you have access to can be intimidating though, so to help with that initial training mode visit, I'm going to point out some easy to use functions that will get you started on the right foot for improvement. My first recommendation is for you to check out the simple training settings. Here you'll find a list of drills that the developers put together to try to teach you some very solid and basic core concepts of the game. When you select one of these drills, the training dummy will be automatically set to a particular pattern or move set where you'll be able to explore a specific concept. The concepts will be stuff like combo practice or whiff punishing and a whole bunch more. Since you're the arbiter of your own improvement, I'd say just follow your heart with what sounds most interesting to you. If you want my recommendation, I would say first get started with the anti-air practice, because if you develop a better instinct for stuffing your opponent's jump-ins, you'll be limiting their options, which is great for you, and you'll be in a far stronger position during real matches. First look for a strong but mostly consistent button that will anti-air them most or if not all of the time if you time it right. Once you've become comfortable using this particular anti-air button, maybe up the ante a little bit and go for a different button, or maybe use a special move to anti-air. For Gal here, for example, it's his flash kick, but for Shotos like Ryu and Ken, it will be their dragon punch, etc, etc. Then there's offensive pressure practice, which teaches you the basic timing of landing a hit on your opponent and then landing a throw on them right after. This is nice because it will give you a basic sense of a strike or throw mix-up sort of situation. My favorite drill is definitely the whiff punish practice drill. Here the CPU will miss an attack and you'll learn to punish them for missing that attack. To be successful with this, I would say try to find a long range button in your arsenal, and also if that long range button is pretty fast, that's even better. When you begin your whiff punish practice, it might take a while for you to develop that killer instinct where you can see a particular normal and whiff it in time. So I would say just keep it pretty basic. Any damage is better than no damage. You don't have to go for this Machiavellian crazy combo. Just go for a simple button, and if you can whiff punish like that, beautiful. And if you start to get good at that, maybe then go for some more ambitious combos. The main thing to remember with these simple training settings is that they are a starting point to learn simple, straightforward, and core concepts of the game. If you start to understand what you're doing with these simple training settings, then you'll be in a better position to create your own drills that will further your improvement later on. Up next is a little time-saving measure. In a real match, you'll be pushing your opponent into the corner, or you'll find yourself backed into the wall. The corner of the screen has always been a place where combos, Oki, and more change, but in Street Fighter 6 that change is even more extreme than ever before, so you'll want to practice in the corner position from time to time too. So instead of walking the training dummy slowly from one side of the screen to the other, just press a single button to reset your position. On my PS4 fight stick, it's the select/share button, and unfortunately since I had to record this footage during the limited time beta, I didn't have time to see what the PC keyboard button is or the Xbox equivalent. If someone knows that, just let us know in the comments below. If you press the select button without a directional input, you'll just reset to the basic middle of the screen starting position, but if you hold either left or right, you'll teleport to either the left or right corner respectively. This won't change your player 1 or player 2 position, but if you want to do that, just be sure you add a down to your input, and if you want to remain in the center of the screen but swap there, just make it up and select at the same time. Hopefully that makes sense. Just play around with it and you'll get a feel for it very fast. This next tip isn't particularly flashy, but I do recommend for you to have a look at the screen display settings. Here you'll find different displays that will help you parse what's actually happening. I always have input history on myself because if you're failing to input a particular command or combo, it can be either because you mistimed it or simply did the wrong input. Always refer to this when you're struggling with execution on something. It will never lie to you. Then there's also cancel timing display. This is also really neat and you don't often find it in other trading modes. Here your character will flash red for the duration that a normal can be cancelled into a special move. There are many ways to find out if a normal is cancelable, but this is a nice visual that will hopefully make that process go a little bit faster. Since we're on the topic of basic settings, also familiarize yourself with the dummy settings. Here you can set the dummy to either crouching, jumping, or keep them standing. You can change their block behavior. Block after first hit is something I'm personally fond of. You can also change whether your attacks are registered as counter hits or not, since that can often change the properties of your attacks. Now to go back to something a little bit more substantial. Familiarize yourself with the reversal settings page. For those that don't know what a reversal is, allow me to refer to Infill's fantastic fighting game term glossary. I highly recommend having their website bookmarked if you struggle with terminology. I'll have the link down below. Anyways, as read from the glossary, a reversal is an attack that is launched on the first possible frame after your character recovers from a state where they weren't allowed to attack, such as being knocked down or trapped in block stun. The three main categories that the game has for reversals are wake up reversal, which means a reversal that comes right after they get up after a knockdown. Then there's reversal after damage and reversal after block. All of these are useful and you get to record or select multiple slots. Here's an example of having Luke block an attack and then retaliating with one of his own. My goal then is to whiff punish his retaliation. By doing this, you'll get a better feel for the distances you're at after certain blocked attacks and the ranges of your opponent's attacks. One of the most impressive features in Street Fighter VI's trading mode is its visual representation of frame data with their frame meter. Having a full primer on frame data is outside of the scope of this particular video, but we'll still talk about some fast and easy uses of the game's frame meter. If you want to have more details on this, refer to the in-game explanation called the Frame Meter and You, found under the Simple Training settings, and if you want even more info, fighting game commentator and legend James Chen has a fantastic video on his YouTube channel. For our purposes, we'll keep it simple. Every action in a fighting game takes a certain amount of time to come out or start up, and then it takes a certain amount of time for you to be able to take another action. This latter part is called recovery. In this context, a frame is a unit of time. In fighting games and Street Fighter VI including, a single frame stands for 1/60th of a second. So when you're getting started, I would focus on learning a bit more about your move startup frames and recovery frames. Recovery frames can differ depending on if you connect your attack gets blocked, or if you simply punch air. When you look at the frame meter, you'll see your information in the top bar and the dummies below. Here I encourage you to mess around with your full move set and see how fast things are on startup, how much frame advantage you get on hit. Don't forget to also see what changes when your attacks get blocked. That's why I have the dummy usually set to block after first hit, so we see the frame data on hit and then on block without going into the menu over and over. You can use your combined knowledge of startup frames and plus frames to figure out your own combos too. For example, as long as you're in range, if a move gives you plus 5 frames of recovery, meaning you get to act 5 frames before your opponent, then the subsequent attack, as long as it's 5 frames or faster on startup, will be a combo. Try not to be intimidated by the frame meter, just play around with it and you'll pretty quickly find out that it can be a fun game in of itself. And for the last tip, we're actually going back to the dummy settings. I glossed over this earlier because I decided it needed its own section. At the bottom of the dummy section, there is a recovery option where you get to decide how the dummy gets up after a knockdown. In this case, you can select whether the dummy recovers in place, recovers backwards, meaning making distance away from you when they get up, or random. Learning how to interact with different recovery options is very important, since if you get your hard-earned knockdown, you ideally want to keep your opponent on the back foot with various pressure options afterwards. If they recover in place, for example, a crouching medium kick will reach them without me having to move, but if they recover backwards, my kick will whiff. Same for a drive rush into overhead. Try out different ideas for their wake up, see if you can dash in and land a grab again, or place a well-timed normal attack, or sometimes it's even good to do nothing. Whew! We made it. This video turned out a bit longer than I initially anticipated, but I hope it helps you navigate the various options in training mode a bit more comfortably. The main thing I want to encourage you to do is to simply experiment. That's why training mode is also often referred to as the lab. If you're curious about a particular situation that happened in a match, see if you can break that interaction down and recreate it in the training mode. Feel free to create your own whiff punish drills or specific corner combos, etc, etc. The main thing is, have fun with the learning process. My name's been Gil, and I really appreciate you stopping by. Please consider subscribing to the channel, since I will be making a whole lot more Street Fighter 6 content, and I'm trying to make it to 1500 subscribers. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them, and maybe some other people can chime in too. Have fun with this brand new fighting game, everyone. I hope to see all of you in the streets of fighting or my live streams. Take care.